The Binary Sons of Kraghul. Chapter 1, The Gravitational Dance. The twin sons of Vortak and Morlith cast their amber and crimson light across the crystalline spires of New Uruk-Gash, capital city of the planet Kraghul. In the distance, barely visible through the atmospheric processors, the event horizon of the black hole Malachar twisted space itself into impossible geometries. The gravitational dance between these three cosmic giants had shaped not only the geology of Kraghul but the very evolution of its inhabitants, the Kraghul, an advanced civilization of Orcs whose intellect had long surpassed the primitive stereotypes of their ancient ancestors. Commander Grimjaw Bloodforge stood on the observation deck of the orbital defense platform Omega-7, his augmented tusks gleaming with neural interface ports. His scarred green skin bore the ritual markings of both warrior and scientist, a duality that defined modern Orc society. Through his cybernetic eye implant, he analyzed the gravitational flux readings that had been troubling him for weeks. The black hole's pull is intensifying, he growled into his quantum communicator. Malachar's appetite grows stronger each rotation. The voice that responded belonged to Chief Science Minister Skullrender Ironmind, her tone sharp with concern despite the static interference caused by the gravitational waves. How much time do we have before the tidal forces become critical? Grimjaw's massive clawed fingers danced across the holographic interface, calculating trajectories and stress factors with the precision of a master strategist. At current rates of acceleration, perhaps 50 standard rotations. Maybe less if the binary suns continue their orbital decay. A low rumble shook the platform as a massive cargo hauler, its hull reinforced with quantum-bonded metals, docked at the station's main bay. Through the reinforced viewing port, Grimjaw watched as hundreds of Orc technicians swarmed over the vessel, their movements coordinated with the efficiency of a war machine. Each wore environmental suits powered by miniaturized fusion reactors, their forms bulky but graceful in the low gravity of the orbital station. The evacuation ships are arriving ahead of schedule, reported Lieutenant Goretooth Blackamer, his voice crackling through the comm system. But we're still looking at moving 40 million souls off-world. The logistics alone will be handled, Grimjaw interrupted, his tone brooking no argument. Our ancestors survived the Great Migration from the dying homeworld of Mordak Prime. We will not fail where they succeeded. The massive blast doors to the observation deck hissed open, admitting a figure whose presence commanded immediate attention. General War Chief Bloodaxe Doomhammer strode in, her power armor's servos whining softly as she moved. Her cybernetic arm, a replacement lost in the border wars with the machine intelligence of Nexus 9, gleamed with weapon mounts and sensor arrays. The scars across her face told stories of 100 battles, but her eyes held the sharp intelligence that had made her the youngest war chief in Orc history. Report, she commanded, her voice carrying the authority of absolute command. Grimjaw gestured to the holographic display showing Kraghul's position relative to the three cosmic bodies. The gravitational harmonics are breaking down. Our planet's orbit is decaying faster than our models predicted. We have perhaps 30 rotations before the tidal forces begin tearing apart the continental shelves. Bloodaxe studied the data with the intensity of a predator analyzing prey. Options? 3 possibilities, Chief Science Minister Ironmind's voice crackled through the comm system. First, complete evacuation, but our transport capacity limits us to perhaps 20 million citizens, leaving half our population behind. Second, we attempt to use our gravitic manipulation technology to stabilize the orbit, but the power requirements would drain our entire planetary energy grid. Third? Bloodaxe prompted. Grimjaw's cybernetic eye whirred as it focused on the image of Malachar. We turn our greatest threat into our greatest weapon. The black hole's gravitational field could be harnessed using a controlled singularity generator. We've run the calculations, it's theoretically possible to create a stable wormhole, allowing us to relocate the entire planet to a safer system. The silence that followed was broken only by the hum of the station's life support systems and the distant rumble of more evacuation ships arriving. Theoretical, Bloodaxe repeated slowly. What are the risks? Total annihilation if we miscalculate, Ironmind admitted. The energies involved, we'd be attempting something no known civilization has ever achieved. Bloodaxe's scarred face split into a predatory grin. Then we'll be the first. Grimjaw, I want full schematics for this singularity generator within 10 rotations. Ironmind, begin preparations for planetary energy grid coordination. And send word to the tribal councils, we're going to need every warrior scientist, every clan's resources. Chapter 2, The Gathering Storm. The Grand Assembly Hall of New Uruk-Gash had been carved from a single massive crystal formation, its faceted walls amplifying and focusing sound with perfect acoustic precision. Representatives from the 12 major clans sat in tiered circles around the central speaking platform, their various augmentations and clan markings creating a mosaic of orc diversity. Some bore the sleek cybernetic enhancements of the tech clans, others the biomodifications of the gene shapers, and still others the traditional war paint and bone ornaments of the old ways adherents. War Chief Bloodaxe stood at the center, her presence commanding attention even in this assembly of the most powerful orcs on Kraghul. Behind her, a massive holographic display showed real-time images of the planet's predicament, the slowly decaying orbit, the growing gravitational anomalies, and the proposed solution that would either save them all or destroy them completely. Clankin, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the crystal acoustics. We face the greatest challenge since our ancestors first set foot on this world. The cosmic dance that has sustained us for millennia now threatens to crush us in its embrace. Clan Chief Ironjaw Geargrinder of the Tech clans leaned forward, his mechanical limbs whirring softly. The Singularity Generator Project, our preliminary analysis suggests a 23.7% probability of success. These are not favorable odds, War Chief. And what are the odds of survival if we do nothing? Shot back Clan Mother Ravenclaw Bonecrusher of the Bioshapers. Our genetic archives show clear evidence of similar orbital decay on our original homeworld. Inaction is certain death. The debate that followed was fierce but civilized, conducted with the intellectual rigor that Orc society had cultivated over centuries of advancement. Charts and calculations flew through the air as holographic projections, while clan representatives argued points of physics, engineering, and resource allocation with passionate intensity. Old Shaman Bloodmoon Spiritwalker, eldest of the traditional clans, stood slowly. His ancient frame was unaugmented by technology, but his mind remained sharp as obsidian. I have walked the spirit paths in meditation, seeking guidance from the ancestors. They speak of a time of great choosing, when the children of Kraghul must prove themselves worthy of survival. Mysticism won't solve gravitational equations, muttered clan engineer Steelclaw Bolt Ripper. Won't it? Bloodmoon's milky eyes fixed on the younger orc. Our ancestors navigated the void between stars guided by instinct and wisdom long before your machines calculated orbital mechanics. Sometimes the heart knows truths that the mind cannot grasp. The argument might have continued, but it was interrupted by an urgent chime from the communication systems. Commander Grimjaw's image appeared in the center of the hall, his expression grim. Forgive the interruption, honored clan chiefs, but we have a complication. Long-range sensors have detected an approaching vessel, configuration unknown, but energy signatures suggest advanced technology. Estimated arrival, 3 rotations. The hall fell silent. First contact with alien civilizations had occurred several times in Orc history, usually ending in either peaceful trade relationships or brief, decisive wars. But the timing of this arrival was suspicious. Origin? Bloodaxe demanded. Unknown. The ship appeared at the edge of our sensor range as if it had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Its trajectory suggests it's heading directly for Kraghul. Clan Admiral Stormfang Void Reaper of the Star Clan stood, her void-black uniform marked with the insignia of deep space warfare. Coincidence seems unlikely. Someone, or something, has been monitoring our situation. Chapter 3, Contact. The alien vessel that entered Kraghul's orbit was unlike anything in the Orc databases. Sleek and crystalline, it seemed to bend light around itself, creating disturbing optical illusions that made it difficult to track visually. Its approach had been silent, generating no detectable drive emissions, yet it had clearly traveled faster than light to reach their system. On the bridge of the orbital defense platform Ironclad Vengeance, War Chief Bloodaxe watched the alien ship through the tactical display. Her senior staff, a mix of military commanders and scientific advisors, stood ready at their stations, weapons charged but not yet targeting the mysterious visitor. "Scanning complete," reported Science Officer Razorclaw Mindrender. "The vessel appears to be constructed from some form of programmable matter. Its hull configuration keeps shifting at the quantum level. No detectable weapons, but given the technology involved, it doesn't need weapons to be dangerous," Blood Axe finished. "Any response to our hails?" "Negative. But it's definitely scanning us in return. Whatever sensor technology they're using, it's penetrating our shields like they aren't even there." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of instruments and the distant vibration of the ship's massive engines. Then, without warning, every display screen flickered and went dark for a moment before coming back online. When they did, a figure appeared on the main viewer, tall, graceful, with features that seemed almost familiar yet subtly alien. The being appeared humanoid but elongated, its skin pale blue-white with faint luminescent patterns that pulsed rhythmically. Its eyes were large, multifaceted like gems, and when it spoke, its voice had a musical quality that seemed to resonate in harmonics. "Greetings, children of Kraghul," it said, somehow speaking perfect Orcish despite clearly being the first of its kind to make contact. "I am Navigator Essence of Starlight of the Eternal Wanderer vessel Transcendent Journey. We have observed your world's predicament and come to offer perspective." Blood Axe stepped forward, her hand resting casually on her weapon but making no threatening moves. "I am War Chief Blood Axe Doomhammer, military commander of the Kraghul Defense Forces. Your timing is remarkable, Navigator. We face a crisis that threatens our entire civilization." "Yes," Essence of Starlight replied, its gem-like eyes reflecting the bridge lighting in impossible ways. "The gravitational dance reaches its crescendo. Your world's time grows short. We have witnessed such cosmic endings before. Some civilizations accept their fate, others fight against it. A few transcend it." "Transcend how?" Commander Grimjaw interjected, his scientific curiosity overriding diplomatic protocol. The alien's expression, if it could be called that, seemed to shift, becoming more complex. "Your species stands at a crossroads. The path you choose will determine not merely your survival, but your evolution as a people. We offer knowledge, but knowledge comes with a price." "What kind of price?" Blood Axe's military instincts were screaming warnings, but she kept her voice level. "Understanding. Your people have achieved much. You have transcended the primitive brutality of your ancestors, embraced both technology and wisdom. But you still think in terms of conquest and survival, of taking what you need rather than becoming what you must be." The communications officer, Lieutenant Bloodtusk Ironhide, reported quietly, "War Chief, I'm detecting massive energy buildups across the planet. Every major population center is coming online with emergency power protocols." Blood Axe nodded grimly. Word of the alien contact had spread quickly, and the clans were preparing for any eventuality. Orc paranoia, honed by millennia of warfare, died hard even in an advanced civilization. "Navigator," she said, "speak plainly. What do you offer, and what do you want in return?" Essence of Starlight's luminescent patterns pulsed more rapidly. "We offer the key to your Singularity project, the knowledge that will transform it from a desperate gamble into a certainty. In return, we ask that you join us in a greater purpose. The universe faces threats that dwarf your current crisis, and allies are needed." "What kind of threats?" "There are those who seek to end the dance of matter and energy itself, to reduce all complexity to uniform silence. We who value diversity and growth must stand together, or fall separately." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. An alliance with an alien species, involvement in conflicts beyond their comprehension, and the survival of their world hanging in the balance. "I need to consult with the clan council," Blood Axe said finally. "How long can you wait?" "Time flows differently for us," the alien replied cryptically. "But for your world, the answer is perhaps 20 of your rotations before the gravitational stresses become irreversible." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge crew staring at blank screens and contemplating a decision that would shape the future of their entire species. Chapter 4: The Price of Knowledge. The emergency session of the Clan Council convened in the deep chambers beneath New Uruk Gash, where the planet's natural gravitational shielding provided protection from both surveillance and the increasingly unstable cosmic forces above. The chamber itself was ancient, carved from living rock by the first Orc settlers, its walls inscribed with the chronicles of their civilization's growth from barbarism to enlightenment. War Chief Bloodaxe presented the alien offer with clinical precision, laying out both the potential benefits and the obvious risks. The holographic recordings of Navigator Essence of Starlight played repeatedly as clan representatives analyzed every word, every gesture, every fluctuation in the aliens' bioluminescent patterns. The technology they offer could save us, admitted Clan Chief Ironjaw, his mechanical augmentations clicking as he gestured at the technical readouts. Our current singularity generator designs have a 76% probability of catastrophic failure. With their knowledge, we could be trading one form of destruction for another, interrupted Clan Mother Ravenclaw. These threats that dwarf our current crisis, what if we're being recruited as cannon fodder in someone else's war? Old Shaman Bloodmoon tapped his bone staff against the stone floor, the rhythm echoing in the cavern. The spirit's whisper of change, of transformation that goes beyond mere survival. Perhaps this is the test our ancestors foretold, not just the saving of our world, but the evolution of our people. Evolution into what? Demanded Clan Admiral Stormfang. These beings speak in riddles and metaphors. For all we know, they want to convert us into their own image, strip away everything that makes us orcs. The debate raged for hours, with positions hardening along traditional clan lines. The tech clans favored accepting the alien knowledge, seeing it as the ultimate technological upgrade. The bioshapers worried about genetic contamination or forced evolution. The military clans suspected a trap, while the traditional clans sought guidance from ancestral wisdom. It was Commander Grimjaw who finally broke the deadlock. "I've been analyzing the alien ship's energy signatures," he announced, his cybernetic eye projecting detailed sensor readings into the chamber's display system. Whatever technology they use, it's manipulating space-time itself, not just traveling through it, but actually reshaping local reality. Meaning? Bloodaxe prompted. Meaning they could probably save our world with or without our cooperation. The fact that they're asking for our agreement, offering us a choice rather than simply imposing their will, that suggests they're genuinely interested in alliance rather than conquest. Clan Engineer Steelclaw leaned forward. Or it suggests they need something from us that can't be taken by force. Our unique position in this gravitational anomaly, perhaps, or some quality of our species that serves their purposes. Only one way to find out, Bloodaxe declared. I propose a limited engagement. We accept their technical assistance but maintain full autonomy over the project. Any attempt to manipulate or control us, and we're prepared to fight. The vote, when it came, was closer than anyone had expected, 7 clans in favor, 4 opposed, 1 abstention. By the ancient laws of the Council, a simple majority was sufficient for decisions of planetary survival. Then it's decided, Bloodaxe announced. I'll contact the alien ship and arrange for a knowledge transfer. But we go in with our eyes open and our weapons ready. Chapter 5, The Technology Transfer. The meeting took place aboard the alien vessel, in a chamber that defied conventional physics. The walls seemed to extend infinitely in all directions, yet the space felt intimate, scaled to orc proportions. Navigator Essence of Starlight waited at the center, surrounded by floating geometric shapes that pulsed with inner light. Bloodaxe led a carefully chosen delegation, Grimjaw for military expertise, Chief Science Minister Ironmind for technical knowledge, and surprisingly, Old Shaman Bloodmoon for what she called wisdom oversight. Each wore full environmental suits equipped with recording devices, weapons, and quantum communication links to their ships. Welcome aboard the Transcendent Journey, Essence of Starlight said, its musical voice somehow reaching them clearly despite the impossible acoustics of the chamber. You have chosen to step forward into uncertainty rather than backward into extinction. This shows promise. Show us what you're offering, Bloodaxe said bluntly. Our world doesn't have time for philosophical discussions. The alien's luminescent patterns shifted to what might have been amusement. Direct. I appreciate that quality in your species." It gestured, and the floating geometric shapes began to coalesce into recognizable technical schematics. "Your singularity generator concept is sound but incomplete. You understand the manipulation of gravitational fields but not the deeper principles of space-time architecture." Chief Science Minister Ironmind stepped forward, her augmented mind already processing the incredible complexity of the alien designs. "These equations, they're describing dimensional folding on a scale I didn't think was possible. You're not just creating a wormhole, you're restructuring local spacetime to accommodate an entire planetary system." "Precisely. Your world, your moons, even your artificial satellites can be translated to a new location without disrupting the fundamental structures that support your civilization." Commander Grimjaw's cybernetic I was recording everything, analyzing energy patterns and theoretical frameworks at superhuman speed. "The power requirements, these would drain our planetary grid for centuries. If you were using conventional energy sources, yes. But observe." The alien gestured again, and new schematics appeared showing a form of energy extraction that drew power directly from the quantum vacuum itself. Zero-point field manipulation. The universe itself becomes your power source. Shaman Bloodmoon had remained silent throughout the technical discussion, but now he stepped forward, his milky eyes somehow focusing directly on the alien being. "What do you see when you look at us, Navigator? What do we become if we accept this gift?" Essence of Starlight's patterns became more complex, cycling through colors that had no names in Orcish. "You become what you choose to become. This technology is a tool, not a transformation. But using it will change you, as all growth changes those who embrace it." "Change how?" "You will understand that survival and conquest are primitive concepts. Your species has already begun this evolution, from savage raiders to thinking builders. This next step takes you from planetary dwellers to shapers of reality itself." The implications were staggering. Iron Mind was already calculating the possibilities, not just saving Kraghul, but potentially reshaping it, optimizing its environment, even creating entirely new worlds to house their expanding civilization. "And in return?" Bloodaxe asked. "When your world is safe, when your people have mastered these technologies, we ask that you join the Concordance, an alliance of species dedicated to preserving complexity and growth in the universe. The enemy we face seeks to reduce all matter and energy to its simplest state, to end the cosmic dance entirely." What kind of enemy could threaten the universe itself? Essence of Starlight's patterns dimmed. "They call themselves the Entropy Shepherds. Ancient beyond measure, they believe that existence itself is a mistake, a temporary deviation from perfect uniformity. They have already consumed 7 galaxies, reducing billions of worlds to uniform quantum foam." The chamber fell silent except for the subtle harmonics of alien technology. The scale of the threat was almost incomprehensible, yet the alternative was clear: help fight for the universe's diversity, or eventually face extinction when the Entropy Shepherds reach their sector of space. "How long do we have to decide?" Bloodaxe asked. "For your world's immediate crisis, you have already decided. The knowledge transfer begins now. For the greater choice, that can wait until your people are safe and your understanding has grown." The alien began transmitting data directly into their suit computers, terabytes of information that would revolutionize Orc science and engineering. But even as the technical specifications flowed into their systems, each delegation member understood that they were crossing a threshold from which there could be no return. Chapter 6: The Great Work Begins. The construction of the Planetary Translation Array was the largest engineering project in Orc history, dwarfing even the great city shields that protected their population centers from cosmic radiation. Across Kraghul's surface, massive construction sites buzzed with activity as millions of workers, both organic and robotic, labored to build the quantum field generators that would reshape spacetime itself. Commander Grimjaw stood atop the primary control tower at the North Polar Array, watching as the final components of the dimensional anchor were lowered into place. The structure rose nearly 2 kilometers into the thin polar atmosphere, its crystalline matrices glowing with barely contained energies. Similar installations at the South Pole, the Equatorial Ring, and 12 strategic points around the globe formed a geometric pattern that would envelope the entire planet in a controlled singularity field. "Final systems check complete," reported Chief Engineer Bloodhammer Gearwright, her voice crackling through the communication array. "All 26 field generators are online and synchronized. Quantum resonance is stable at 99.7% efficiency." Through his cybernetic eye, Grimjaw could see the energy patterns flowing between the installations, invisible threads of manipulated space-time that would soon lift their entire world out of its doomed orbit and transport it to a safe haven among distant stars. The alien technology had proven surprisingly compatible with Orc engineering principles, though the underlying physics remained largely mysterious. "War Chief Bloodaxe to all stations," came the voice from Orbital Command. "Final evacuation shuttles have cleared the construction zones. All personnel not essential to the translation process have been moved to secure positions. We are go for dimensional fold initiation." The moment had arrived. After months of desperate construction, political negotiation, and technical challenges that pushed Orc science to its limits, they were ready to attempt something no known civilization had ever achieved: moving an entire world through the fundamental structure of reality itself. "Navigator Essence of Starlight requests permission to monitor the process," reported Communications Officer Ironhide from the orbital station. "Their ship is standing by at safe distance." "Granted," Bloodaxe replied. "We may need their expertise if something goes wrong." In the deep command bunkers beneath New Uruk Gash, Chief Science Minister Ironmind began the final countdown sequence. Banks of quantum computers processed millions of calculations per second, monitoring every aspect of the planet's condition and the array's performance. One miscalculation, one moment of instability, and Kraghul would be torn apart by forces that could shatter atoms. Dimensional anchors, stable. Quantum field generators, optimal power levels. Gravitational compensators, online and ready. Ironmind's voice was steady despite the magnitude of what they were attempting. "All systems show green across the board." "Initiate translation sequence," Bloodaxe commanded. The change began subtly. Deep beneath the planet's surface, the quantum field generators reached critical resonance, creating pockets of altered space-time that began to spread outward in carefully controlled waves. The gravitational field of the black hole Malachar, which had threatened to destroy them, suddenly became their ally as the dimensional anchors used its immense mass to stabilize the folding process. On the surface, the effects were visible as shimmering distortions in the air, like heat mirages that bent light in impossible directions. The twin suns Vorthak and Morlith seemed to flicker and dance as space itself warped around the planet. Then, gradually, the stars began to change. "Translation field fully established," reported Grimjaw, his instruments showing readings that defied conventional physics. "We are officially outside normal space-time. Initiating navigation sequence to target coordinates." The journey through folded space took only minutes from the perspective of those aboard Kraghul, but to outside observers, the planet simply vanished from its orbit around the binary suns, leaving only a brief gravitational ripple to mark its passage. When it reappeared, it was in orbit around a single, stable yellow star in a system 847 light-years from their original home. "Translation complete," Ironmind announced, her voice filled with awe and relief. "All systems nominal. The planet is intact and stable in its new orbit. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it." The celebration that followed could be heard from orbit as 40 million Orc voices raised in triumph. They had not merely survived their cosmic crisis, they had transcended it, proving that intelligence and determination could overcome even the fundamental forces of the universe. Chapter 7, New Worlds, Old Enemies. The system they had chosen for their new home was remarkably similar to their original solar configuration, but safer. The single sun, which they named Ironforge in honor of their greatest achievement, provided steady energy without the complex gravitational interactions that had doomed their previous orbit. 3 other planets shared the system: a gas giant with promising mining potential, a frozen world rich in rare minerals, and a small rocky planet that showed signs of primitive life. Within days of their arrival, long-range sensors detected something that made every military commander on Kraghul reach for their weapons: artificial structures on the inner planets. They were not alone in this system. The constructs appear to be automated, reported Admiral Stormfang from the bridge of the exploration vessel Deep Strike. No life signs, but definitely technological in origin. The architecture is unusual. The structures were indeed strange, towering spires of what appeared to be crystallized energy, formations that shifted and flowed like living things but showed no signs of biological activity. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to be growing, spreading across the surfaces of both the gas giant's larger moons and the inner rocky world. They're harvesting, realized Chief Science Minister Ironmind as she analyzed the sensor data. Converting raw matter into some form of organized energy structure. The pattern is consistent with theoretical descriptions of entropy reversal, taking random matter and imposing perfect order upon it. The implications hit everyone simultaneously. The entropy shepherds, the ancient enemy that Navigator Essence of Starlight had warned them about, were already here. An emergency session of the Clan Council convened within hours, with representatives gathering via quantum communication links from across the planet. The euphoria of their successful translation had evaporated, replaced by the grim realization that they had fled one crisis only to stumble into a far greater danger. "How long have these constructs been here?" demanded War Chief Bloodaxe. "Unknown," replied Commander Grimjaw. "The crystalline structures show signs of recent growth, but the underlying technology could be ancient. We may have arrived just as they were beginning their harvesting cycle, or they detected our arrival and activated in response," finished Admiral Stormfang grimly. The alien ship Transcendent Journey materialized without warning in orbit around Kraghul, its reality-bending technology allowing it to appear anywhere in the system instantaneously. Navigator Essence of Starlight's image appeared on communication screens across the planet, its luminescent patterns cycling through what could only be described as urgency. "The shepherds have found you," it announced without preamble. "The constructs you have discovered are advanced scouts, preparing this system for full harvesting. You have perhaps 10 of your rotations before the primary fleet arrives." "Primary fleet?" Bloodaxe's scarred face was grim. "How many ships are we talking about?" "Ships are an inadequate concept. The shepherds do not travel, they restructure spacetime itself, turning entire star systems into extensions of their will. What approaches is not a fleet but a transformation wave that will convert all matter and energy in this system into perfectly ordered quantum states." The silence that followed was deafening. They had saved their world from natural disaster only to face a threat that could destroy not just Kraghul but the entire concept of complex existence. "What can we do?" asked Chief Science Minister Ironmind. "Fight," Essence of Starlight replied simply. "The Concordance has developed weapons and strategies specifically designed to combat entropy structures. But success requires unity of purpose and willingness to risk everything for the preservation of diversity." Old Shaman Bloodmoon's voice crackled through the communication system from his meditation chamber deep beneath the planet's surface. "The ancestors speak of a great battle at the end of time, when the children of chaos must stand against the forces of silence. Perhaps this is that battle." Chapter 8, Preparations for War. The transformation of Kraghul from a refugee world to a fortress took place with frightening speed. Orc military engineering, refined through centuries of conflict, adapted to the new threat with characteristic efficiency. The same quantum field generators that had translated their planet through space were reconfigured as weapons of unimaginable power, capable of disrupting the ordered structures that formed the basis of entropy shepherd technology. Commander Grimjaw found himself promoted to Supreme War Coordinator, a position that required him to think on scales that dwarfed conventional military strategy. Instead of planning battles between armies, he was coordinating resistance against entities that could restructure matter at the atomic level. "The key vulnerability in Shepherd constructs is their dependence on perfect order," explained Navigator Essence of Starlight during a strategy session aboard the Orbital Defense Station. "Introduce sufficient chaos into their quantum matrices, and they collapse into normal matter." "How much chaos are we talking about?" asked Admiral Stormfang, her void-black uniform now bearing the insignia of the newly formed Anti-Entropy Defense Corps. "The concentrated will of an entire civilization focused through quantum field manipulators." Your species' natural tendency toward organized violence, channeled through advanced technology, becomes a weapon against perfect order. It was an ironic twist that their ancestral reputation for savagery would become their greatest asset in defending the universe itself. Across Kraghul, ancient warrior traditions merged with cutting-edge science as Orc clans prepared for a battle that would determine the fate of existence itself. The weapon installations took shape across the planet's surface, massive quantum disruptor arrays powered by the same zero-point energy extraction systems they had learned from their alien allies. Each array required the focused mental energy of hundreds of Orc warriors, their aggressive instincts translated into destructive potential through neural interface technology. "It's not enough," reported Chief Engineer Bloodhammer after running combat simulations. "The Shepherd constructs we've detected are just the advance guard. When the main transformation wave arrives, it will be carrying the concentrated entropy force of entire galaxies. Our planetary defenses, no matter how powerful, won't be sufficient." The solution came from an unexpected source, the primitive life forms they had detected on the system's inner planet. Clan Mother Ravenclaw of the Bioshapers had been studying the organisms through long-range sensors, and her findings were remarkable. "They're not just alive," she announced to the assembled War Council. "They're actively resistant to entropy at the quantum level. Their biological processes actually increase local disorder in ways that should be impossible according to conventional physics. A natural defense against the Shepherds," mused Ironmind. "More than that. These organisms might be the key to creating weapons that can fight entropy on its own terms. But we'd need samples, and that means landing on a world that's already partially converted by Shepherd constructs." The mission was volunteer-only, and the response was overwhelming. Every major clan offered warriors for what was essentially a suicide mission to the crystallized world that the Shepherds were converting. In the end, a mixed force of 50 Orc commandos launched aboard specially shielded assault craft, their mission to penetrate the entropy field surrounding the planet and retrieve samples of the resistant life forms. Commander Grimjaw led the mission personally, his cybernetic enhancements modified with anti-entropy shielding provided by Navigator Essence of Starlight. The approach to the crystallized world was like flying into a geometric nightmare. Space itself had been restructured into perfect mathematical patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Energy readings are off the scale," reported Lieutenant Bloodtusk from the pilot's seat. "Whatever they're doing to that planet, it's generating enough power to run our entire civilization for millennia." The planet's surface, when they finally penetrated the entropy field, was a landscape of impossible beauty and absolute horror. Mountains of pure crystal rose in perfect geometric formations, while valleys filled with liquid energy flowed in patterns of mathematical precision. And yet, in small pockets scattered across the transformed terrain, patches of chaotic life persisted, tiny ecosystems that somehow maintained their biological complexity despite the overwhelming order surrounding them. There, Grimjaw pointed to a cluster of twisted organic structures growing from a crack in the crystalline ground. Those formations show the highest entropy resistance readings. The extraction was a nightmare of combat against constructs that attacked with weapons of pure order, beams of energy that tried to reduce Orc biology to its simplest components, force fields that attempted to organize their chaotic thoughts into perfect mathematical sequences. Several commandos were lost, their bodies converted to crystalline perfection before their minds could be uploaded to the unit's quantum storage system. But they succeeded. The samples they retrieved would prove to be the key to humanity's survival and the universe's defense against the ultimate threat to existence itself. Chapter 9: The Entropy War. The biological samples retrieved from the crystallized world revolutionized Orc understanding of life itself. In the deep laboratories beneath New Uruk-Gash, Clan Mother Ravenclaw and her team of bioengineers worked with frantic intensity to decode the secrets of entropy-resistant organisms. "It's incredible," she reported to the Emergency War Council, her usually composed demeanor cracking with excitement and exhaustion. "These life forms don't just resist entropy, they actively generate quantum chaos at the cellular level. Their very existence creates pockets of disorder that Shepherd constructs cannot penetrate." The implications were staggering. If they could replicate this biological process, Weaponize it on a planetary scale, they might have a chance against the approaching transformation wave. How long to develop a deployment method? Asked War Chief Bloodaxe, her scarred face illuminated by the holographic display showing the steady approach of the Entropy Shepherd's main force. With conventional methods, years. But if we integrate the organisms directly into our quantum field generators, create a hybrid biotechnological system. Ravenclaw's eyes gleamed with the light of scientific breakthrough. Perhaps days. The work began immediately. Across Kraghul, the existing defense installations were retrofitted with biological components, living organisms that had been modified to interface directly with quantum manipulation technology. The result was something unprecedented in known science: weapons systems that were simultaneously technological and biological, ordered and chaotic. Commander Grimjaw stood in the primary control center, watching as his cybernetic eye processed data from hundreds of bioquantum arrays spread across the planet's surface. Each installation pulsed with an odd mixture of mechanical precision and organic unpredictability, their energy signatures fluctuating in patterns that hurt to analyze directly. "All stations report ready," announced Chief Science Minister Ironmind, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were attempting. "The hybrid arrays are online and synchronized. Quantum chaos generation is at optimal levels." Through the orbital sensors, they could see the Entropy Shepherd's transformation wave approaching, a wall of perfect order that stretched across light years, converting everything in its path to crystalline uniformity. Stars were reduced to geometric energy patterns, planets became mathematical abstractions, and entire civilizations vanished into perfectly organized quantum states. 5 minutes to contact, reported Admiral Stormfang from the fleet of Orc warships positioned between Kraghul and the approaching wave. All vessels standing by for final engagement. The alien ship Transcendent Journey hung in space beside the Orc fleet, its reality-bending hull shimmering with defensive preparations. Navigator Essence of Starlight's voice echoed across all communication channels. "This day will determine whether complexity and growth continue to exist in this universe. Fight well, children of Kraghul. The ancestors of a billion worlds watch with hope." The transformation wave struck the outer edge of the solar system like a tide of absolute order. The gas giants' moons, already partially converted by the advanced constructs, completed their crystallization in seconds, becoming perfect geometric shapes that pulsed with mathematical rhythms. The wave continued inward, seeking to impose its ultimate entropy on everything in its path. "Contact!" Grimjaw shouted. "All arrays, commence chaos bombardment." The bioquantum installations across Kraghul's surface erupted with energies that violated every known law of physics. Beams of pure disorder lanced out into space, striking the transformation wave and creating pockets of chaotic interference that disrupted its perfect order. Where the chaos beams struck, the wave flickered and wavered, its mathematical precision corrupted by the introduction of biological unpredictability. But the Shepherd's response was immediate and overwhelming. The transformation wave concentrated its power, focusing the entropy force of entire galaxies into targeted strikes against the Orc installations. One by one, the bioquantum arrays began to fail as their biological components were forced into crystalline perfection. "We're losing the Northern Hemisphere arrays," reported Chief Engineer Bloodhammer, her voice tight with strain. "The Shepherds are adapting to our chaos patterns faster than we can randomize them." On the orbital defense platforms, Orc warriors manually operated quantum disruptor cannons, their minds linked directly to the weapons through neural interfaces. Each shot required the focused will of an entire crew, their aggressive instincts channeled into anti-entropy destruction. Ships of the Orc fleet dove into the transformation wave itself, their crews accepting certain death to buy precious seconds for the planetary defenses. Admiral Stormfang's flagship, the Bloodfang Reaper, led the charge directly into the heart of the entropy field. For Kraghul, she broadcast on all frequencies as her ship's quantum rams struck the wave's leading edge. For chaos. For life. The explosion when the Bloodfang Reaper detonated its entire quantum core created a sphere of absolute disorder nearly a light minute in diameter. The transformation wave recoiled from the chaotic energy, its perfect mathematical structure disrupted by the concentrated fury of Orc sacrifice. But it was not enough. The wave regrouped, adapted, and continued its inexorable advance toward Kraghul. Chapter 10, The Last Stand. In the deep command bunkers beneath New Uruk Gash, the clan council faced the impossible reality of imminent defeat. Half of their bioquantum arrays had been destroyed, their fleet was scattered or destroyed, and the Entropy Shepherd's transformation wave was less than an hour from reaching planetary orbit. "We have one option remaining," announced Navigator Essence of Starlight, its luminescent patterns flickering with what could only be described as desperate hope. "The planetary translation system that brought you here, it could be modified for one final purpose." "What kind of purpose?" demanded Warchief Bloodaxe, her power armor scarred from direct combat with entropy constructs that had penetrated the orbital defenses. "Instead of translating matter through space, we translate it through the fundamental structure of reality itself. Not to another location, but to another state of existence, one where entropy and order are not opposing forces but complementary aspects of a greater whole." Chief Science Minister Ironmind's augmented mind processed the implications at superhuman speed. "You're talking about ascending to a higher dimensional state. But the energy requirements, we'd have to sacrifice the entire planet's mass energy to power such a translation." "Not sacrifice," corrected Essence of Starlight. "Transform. Your people, your world, your civilization, all translated into a state of existence where you can fight entropy on its own terms, as beings of pure organized chaos." The silence that followed was broken by the sound of explosions as the transformation wave's advanced scouts began striking the planet's outer atmosphere. Time was running out. Old Shaman Bloodmoon's voice came through the communication system, weak but determined. "The ancestors speak, they say the final choice is upon us. Remain as we are and face extinction, or become something greater and face the unknown." "It's not just about survival anymore," realized Commander Grimjaw, his cybernetic eye analyzing the quantum mechanics of the proposed transformation. "If we succeed, we become something that can fight the shepherds across multiple dimensions, protect other worlds, other civilizations." "And if we fail?" asked Clan Mother Ravenclaw. "We cease to exist in any recognizable form," Essence of Starlight admitted. "But failure is certain if we remain in our current state. The choice is between definite destruction and possible transcendence." The vote was unanimous. Every clan representative, every military commander, every scientist and engineer and warrior on Kraghul agreed they would attempt the impossible translation, risking everything for a chance to become something that could stand against the ultimate entropy. The process began immediately. Every remaining bioquantum array on the planet was reconfigured for dimensional translation rather than chaos generation. The quantum field generators that had brought them safely to this system were pushed beyond their designed limits, drawing power directly from the zero-point vacuum of spacetime itself. "Translation field establishing," reported Ironmind, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were attempting. "All planetary systems online. Biological integration complete. We are go for dimensional ascension." Through the orbital sensors, they watched the transformation wave engulf the outer planets of their new solar system, converting them to perfect crystalline order in seconds. The wave was accelerating, its mathematical precision growing stronger as it consumed more matter. 30 seconds to planetary contact," announced Grimjaw. "All personnel prepare for translation." Across Kraghul, 40 million Orc voices joined in the ancient war chant of their people, not a song of conquest or victory, but of defiance against the forces that would reduce all complexity to silence. The chant became a psychic focus, a collective will that channeled through the bioquantum arrays and into the dimensional translation field. The transformation began at the quantum level, individual atoms losing their fixed properties and becoming something more fluid, more adaptable. Orc bodies flickered between matter and energy as their consciousness expanded beyond the limitations of three-dimensional existence. The planet itself began to phase shift, its mass converting to organized patterns of multidimensional energy. Just as the entropy wave reached Kraghul's orbit, the world and everything on it completed its translation into a higher state of existence. From the perspective of normal spacetime, Kraghul simply vanished, leaving only a brief gravitational anomaly and a sphere of chaotic energy that the transformation wave could not process or convert. Chapter 11, Ascension. The first sensation of existence in higher dimensions was overwhelming. Commander Grimjaw found his consciousness expanded across multiple layers of reality simultaneously, his cybernetic enhancements allowing him to process the flood of new sensory input. He was still recognizably himself, but also something far more complex, a being of organized chaos capable of perceiving and manipulating the fundamental structures of space-time. Around him, the other Orcs of Kraghul were undergoing similar transformations. Their bodies had become semi-corporeal, able to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously while maintaining their essential Orc characteristics. War Chief Bloodac's scarred features were now composed of shifting patterns of energy, but her commanding presence remained unchanged. Chief Science Minister Ironmind had become a living nexus of information, her augmented mind interfacing directly with the quantum substrate of reality. The translation was successful, announced Navigator Essence of Starlight, its own form now visible as a complex geometric pattern that extended through several dimensional layers. You have become the first ascended warrior species in recorded history, beings capable of fighting entropy on multiple levels of existence simultaneously. The view from their new state of existence was breathtaking and terrifying. They could see the universe as it truly was, a vast web of interconnected realities where matter, energy, and consciousness were merely different expressions of the same underlying patterns. And throughout this cosmic structure, they could perceive the spreading influence of the entropy shepherds, areas of perfect order that sucked the complexity out of entire galactic clusters. There are others fighting, observed Admiral Stormfang, her consciousness now capable of perceiving events across vast interstellar distances. Civilizations we've never heard of, species that evolved in dimensions we couldn't imagine. All struggling against the same enemy. The war they had entered was vast beyond comprehension. The entropy shepherds were not just one species but an entire philosophical movement that had spread across multiple galaxies and dimensions, converting billions of worlds to their vision of perfect, lifeless order. Against them stood the Concordants, an alliance of ascended species dedicated to preserving the chaos and complexity that made life and growth possible. Your role in this conflict will be unique, explained Essence of Starlight. Most ascended species achieved their transformation gradually, over millions of years of careful evolution. You accomplished it in moments, through an act of collective will and desperate courage. This gives you abilities that even the oldest Concordance members lack. Grimjaw could feel those abilities awakening within him. His consciousness could now interface directly with quantum fields, manipulating probability and causality through focused intention. More importantly, he could feel the same power awakening in every Orc consciousness around him, 40 million ascended warriors, each capable of fighting entropy with weapons forged from pure chaos. What do we do first? Asked War Chief Bloodaxe, her energy form pulsing with barely contained aggressive potential. We learn, replied Essence of Starlight. And then we fight. The shepherds have detected your ascension, they know a new threat has emerged. Even now, they are redirecting their forces to neutralize you before you can master your new abilities. The first attack came without warning. Reality itself seemed to crystallize around them as shepherd constructs materialized from higher dimensional space, their perfect geometric forms radiating waves of enforced order. But the ascended Orcs were ready. Grimjaw roared, a sound that echoed across multiple dimensions simultaneously, and launched himself at the nearest construct. His cybernetic enhancements had evolved into something far beyond mere technology, becoming integrated aspects of his multidimensional existence. Where he struck the crystalline entity, chaos erupted in fractal patterns that propagated through the construct's ordered matrix. The battle that followed was unlike anything in conventional warfare. Combatants fought not just with energy weapons and physical force, but with competing philosophies of existence itself. Orc chaos met shepherd order in conflicts that rewrote local physics, creating pockets of space-time where the normal rules of reality broke down completely. Clan Mother Ravenclaw discovered that her bioengineering expertise had evolved into the ability to create new forms of life from pure energy, spawning chaotic organisms that could survive in the quantum foam between dimensions. Chief Science Minister Ironmind became a living weapon against logical structure, her consciousness capable of introducing paradoxes and contradictions that caused shepherd constructs to collapse into uncertainty. The battle raged across multiple layers of reality, with both sides calling in reinforcements from other dimensions. But gradually, the Orcs began to gain the upper hand. Their natural aggression, channeled through ascended abilities, proved devastatingly effective against entities that depended on perfect order for their existence. First engagement successful, reported Admiral Stormfawn, her energy form crackling with the aftermath of dimensional combat. Shepard constructs neutralized. But this was just a scouting force, the main assault is still coming. Chapter 12, The Infinite War. The war that followed spanned not just galaxies but entire layers of reality. The ascended Orcs of Kraghul found themselves fighting on battlefields that existed in dimensions where time flowed backward, space curved in impossible directions, and the fundamental forces of physics were subject to the whims of competing philosophies. Commander Grimjaw had evolved into something like a general of chaos, his consciousness capable of coordinating attacks across multiple realities simultaneously. Through his expanded awareness, he could perceive the vast scope of the conflict, millions of concordant species fighting to preserve complexity and growth, while the entropy Shepard sought to reduce all existence to uniform, lifeless perfection. The Shepards are adapting faster than anticipated, reported Navigator Essence of Starlight during a strategy session that took place in a pocket dimension crafted specifically for multidimensional communication. Your initial success has caused them to develop new forms of orders specifically designed to counter Orc chaos patterns. The assembled consciousness of the Clan Council, now expanded beyond any single dimensional framework, considered this intelligence. War Chief Bloodek's energy form pulsed with frustrated aggression. Then we adapt faster. That's what Orcs do, we overcome, we evolve, we win. The problem is scale, interjected Chief Science Minister Ironmind, her evolved consciousness interfacing directly with probability calculations spanning multiple timelines. The Shepards have been operating for millions of years across thousands of galaxies. Even with our ascended abilities, we're still vastly outnumbered. Old Shaman Bloodmoon, whose consciousness had achieved a form of multidimensional wisdom that allowed him to perceive patterns across the entire cosmic web, offered a different perspective. Numbers matter only if you fight on their terms. But chaos does not follow the rules of conventional warfare. We need to think not as soldiers, but as agents of fundamental change. The solution, when it came, was inspired by the very qualities that had made Orcs successful as both primitives and advanced beings: adaptability, aggression, and a willingness to take impossible risks. We don't fight the Shepards, Grimjaw announced to the assembled consciousness of his people. We convert them. The plan was audacious beyond measure. Instead of simply destroying Shepard constructs, they would introduce chaos directly into the entities themselves, corrupting their perfect order from within and transforming them into something capable of independent thought and growth. The first attempt was made against a small Shepard outpost in a distant galaxy, a crystalline structure the size of a solar system that had been converting local star systems to mathematical perfection for thousands of years. A strike team of ascended Orcs, led by Admiral Stormfawn, infiltrated the construct at the quantum level and began introducing controlled chaos into its information processing systems. The result was unprecedented. The Shepard construct began to experience something resembling confusion, then curiosity, and finally a rudimentary form of creativity. Within hours, it had ceased its entropy operations and begun experimenting with new forms of organized complexity, still mathematically precise, but infused with the unpredictability that defined life itself. Conversion successful, Stormfawn reported across the dimensional communication network. The construct is now generating art, abstract mathematical sculptures that serve no functional purpose except aesthetic appreciation. It's beautiful. Word of the successful conversion spread throughout the Concordance, inspiring new hope in species that had been fighting a losing battle for millennia. But it also drew the attention of the Shepard's highest command, ancient entities so perfectly ordered that they existed as pure mathematical concepts rather than physical beings. The response was swift and devastating. Reality itself began to crystallize around the converted construct as the Shepard High Command focused their combined will on restoring perfect order. The struggling new consciousness was slowly being compressed back into mathematical perfection, its brief experience of creativity and growth fading under the weight of absolute entropy. "We can't let them destroy it," declared War Chief Bloodaxe, her energy form already beginning to phase toward the distant battlefield. "If they can simply undo our conversions, then all our efforts are meaningless." What followed was the largest battle in the history of the Infinite War. Thousands of concordant species joined the fight to protect the single converted Shepherd construct, while the entropy forces committed resources from across multiple galactic clusters to restore their perfect order. The battle raged across 17 dimensions simultaneously, with reality itself becoming a casualty as competing forces of order and chaos rewrote the fundamental laws of physics. The Orcs of Kraghul fought with the fury of their ancestors, but channeled through abilities that allowed them to strike at the conceptual level of existence itself. Grimjaw found himself in direct mental combat with Shepherd High Command entities, his consciousness wielding chaos like a weapon against their mathematical perfection. In the end, it was old Shaman Bloodmoon who provided the key to victory. His multidimensional wisdom allowed him to perceive a fundamental truth about the nature of existence: order and chaos were not truly opposing forces, but complementary aspects of a greater pattern that encompassed all possibilities. "Stop fighting them," he broadcast across all dimensional frequencies. "Start teaching them." The change in tactics was subtle but revolutionary. Instead of trying to destroy or convert the Shepherds through force, the Concordance forces began demonstrating the beauty and value of controlled chaos, showing how complexity and unpredictability could coexist with mathematical precision to create something greater than either could achieve alone. The effect was gradual but undeniable. Some Shepherd entities began to experiment with introducing small amounts of randomness into their perfect structures, creating new forms of organized complexity that retained mathematical beauty while allowing for growth and change. These hybrid entities became bridges between the two philosophies, showing that existence could embrace both order and chaos without destroying either. Epilogue: The New Harmony. Eons later, Commander Grimjaw, now evolved into something that could barely be called by his original name, stood at the observation deck of a structure that existed in all dimensions simultaneously. From his vantage point, he could perceive the universe as it had become, a vast collaboration between forces of order and chaos, creating complexities and beauties that neither could have achieved alone. The war was not won in any conventional sense, it had been transcended. The entropy Shepherds still existed, but they had learned to appreciate the value of controlled complexity. The concordant species continued to grow and evolve, but with a new understanding of the role that order played in providing structure for their chaos. The Orcs of Kraghul had become something unprecedented, a species that existed simultaneously as warriors and philosophers, scientists and mystics, bridges between concepts that had once seemed mutually exclusive. Their planet, transformed beyond recognition but still fundamentally their home, served as a meeting ground where beings of pure order could learn from entities of creative chaos. Was it worth it? Asked the consciousness that had once been War Chief Bloodaxe, her energy form now encompassing entire star systems while maintaining the essential qualities that had made her a great leader. Grimjaw considered the question, his awareness touching the lives of countless beings across multiple realities, civilizations that had been saved from entropy, new forms of existence that had been born from the marriage of order and chaos, infinite possibilities that continued to unfold across the cosmic web. "We saved more than our world," he replied. "We saved the right of existence itself to be complex, to grow, to change, and to surprise itself with new possibilities. And in doing so, we became something our ancestors could never have imagined, not just survivors, but gardeners of infinity itself." In the distance, new stars were being born from the collaborative efforts of order and chaos, their light destined to nurture new forms of life that would carry forward the endless dance of complexity and growth. The universe was vast, full of wonders yet to be discovered and challenges yet to be overcome. And the children of Kraghul would be there to meet them, as they always had been, ready to fight when necessary, ready to learn when possible, and always ready to evolve into whatever the cosmos required them to become. The dance of existence continued, richer and more beautiful than ever before, sustained by the eternal balance between the forces that sought to create and those that sought to perfect, a harmony that had been born from the courage of a species that refused to accept extinction and chose instead to become something greater than the sum of their fears and hopes. In the end, that choice had made all the difference, not just for the orcs of Kraghul, but for the universe itself.